Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Observable Flutter. My name is Craig Lebenz, and I'm your host. 5 minutes late today because my computer's webcam decided to lose its mind literally right at 9 o'clock because we were supposed to start. But we're ready to go. Before we get into all the excitement today, let's remind ourselves that this is the Flutter community, folks. Let's hold ourselves to a very high standard, no disparaging other technologies, other frameworks, patterns that we may not necessarily agree with. We can debate those patterns. Let's always remember to be kind to folks who may enjoy them. But that's every week. But now it's time to talk about fighting zombies with flame. So I'm pretty excited today to start a new project that is probably going to be my default thing to work on an observable Flutter if I don't have a guest or some other specific thing to cover on a given week. And there still will be a lot of guests, so this will be a frequently interrupted project. But yeah, I just want to try my hand at making a really, really simple game. And the idea that I have is essentially just have a character walk around, shoot fireballs at zombies. And I want to have a very small game world with like obstacles that I can use to hide from the zombies. I have no idea what this is going to mean in terms of pathfinding and whatnot. I'm going to have an actual game world. I'm going to have to explore Flame's camera component system that I've never touched before, but I did skim the documentation last night. So I'm very, very raw on that. Never written a line of Flame camera code. And then, maybe the main character will have like a mana bar and a health bar, something. And you get a point when you kill a zombie. Game's over when your health hits 0. Sounds simple. Gonna take forever because I don't know what I'm doing. Probably work on this for months. So that's the goal. That's fighting zombies with flame. All right. Any questions for anybody? Glad to see a lot of the usual faces. So I have a starter project here that contains almost nothing. Still have the Flutter create code. I haven't even added Flame yet. All I've done is just get some assets loading. So the only changes I've made so far in my pubspec file, I've added some assets that I downloaded off a pretty cool website called canny.nl. And I've used this website before. It's really wonderful. And they have cool assets, and I have just helped myself to a few of them. King Achilles, can I play this? Can I install this game in the Play Store? Not yet. It's still primitive. So I've got those installed, and I never remember how to do assets things. So I just wanted to remember, like, do you add the assets path? Like, where do you start writing and whatnot? But then as I did that, I remembered that there's this other way that you can do assets gen, and I actually do want to use this. So maybe this will actually be the very first step in this project, is to get up a system to start building like some generated code around assets. So let's do that. I'm gonna add assets gen to the pubspec file. That's in the dev dependencies. Actually, I'm going to add it with the command because then that will pin the current version. I don't like to do any, even though it's probably fine. So I add a dev dependency of assets gen, and then we'll do another one for build runner. Okay, it's looking good. And I don't think we have to do anything else. Yeah, we just say, Oh, we can provide our own config here, but other than that, we simply give it assets. I'm just going to use the default settings, and this, I think we're good. So let's close you all. I don't remember where it puts this file. Deprecated Dart run. What? Oh, Flutter pub get. I always forget that doesn't run that. Another game after Doodle Dash. Yeah, I was only incidentally involved in Doodle Dash. I really can't take any credit for that. It's that was a Khan and Eric project. All right, let's try this again. Use Dart run instead. Really? Oh, was I just? Oh, should I just say Flutter run? Could not find package assets gen or file assets gen. All right, I guess I do have to provide some config. We're off to a good start. Specify an assets gen section or assets gen.yaml. All right, I guess we'll just do this. Let me get rid of all these fonts. And yeah, it looks like we do get a lot of helpful defaults here that makes surprising that we have to supply anything there. Is there a Git for the Observable Flutter projects? I am going to have this repo on GitHub the whole time. I will. I haven't really done that for other things, but this one will definitely be available. I'll probably have a branch for every episode milestone. Wolf and Rain, Yoakum, did I not even need to add this assets gen directory? Did I just need to do the Dart run? Let's try it again. Yes. Okay. I'm good. I'm good at reading words. All right, so let's look at this file that it generated. Assets. Oh, I didn't want to load it from here. Assets. There we go. So there's a lot of assets in those directories. So the one that I was using before is this zombie action 1. So let's go grab how we're going to do this now. And I think that went in the asset. Oh, I grabbed the whole thing. Okay. You love to see it. Now we have to import assets. That should be the thing that we just generated. And now this is assets, characters, zombie, poses, zombie action 1. All right, and this should just show the same thing that I was looking at before the stream. Flutter run macOS. I did type run. Awesome to see this. Been wanting to start a game with Flame. Jacob. Yeah, me too. I really don't know what I'm doing. So there will be no like skipping of simple patterns, or, I won't be assuming really much of anything. I have no idea what I'm doing. There was a fun moment at FlutterCon in Berlin. I gave a talk about this very simple game that I made. It's just multiplayer Pong. And all of the headaches that I had around multiplayer Pong stemmed from like networking things and distributed state management. I mean, it was barely a game at all, right? It's just Pong. But it took me months to figure out the distributed state management syncing and whatnot. And after the talk, I saw Yoakum in the hallway, and he's just said, he was like recapping to me, him thinking to himself during my talk. And he's like, this guy doesn't know anything. I got to help him. I was like, you're right. I don't. So we're all going to be hitting it from scratch here. Video on ServerPod as well. Hey, well, that's an interesting name, Flutter. We I did a couple weeks ago. I had the creator of ServerPod on, Victor, and we talked about ServerPod. Okay, so it's time to do some game stuff. I haven't even added Flame to this project yet. But the first thing that I want to do, no, I guess I'll add Flame first, and then we'll dive into camera stuff. So I'm going to close this assets folder, and then back in main.dart, no, back in pubspec.yaml, let's add Flame. There's Flame. Distributed state management exception handling is probably insane. A lot about distributed state management handling is pretty insane. I wasn't running into a ton of exceptions. I was just running into my client and server disagreeing on what the state was. And if you are more interested in that, eventually FlutterCon should put the talks up on YouTube. All right, so we've added Flame, and that means that we can add the game widget and all that stuff. And I honestly always forget the exact I think we have to like add Flame game or something. And then let's add, I literally always forget this. It's really pretty spectacular. I don't think we even need a scaffold. I think we can just do a game widget, and then we owe it a game, which we don't have yet. And I'm just going to put it here for now until it compiles. Class, and this will be zombie game, extends Flame game, and there's nothing else to it. And is it a positional named parameter? Game, zombie game, we're compiling. Because I'm good at this stuff. Ooh, it's almost camera time. So, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I want the camera to follow around the character, which I guess means, oh no, I deleted where the asset was being rendered, so we don't need to worry about that at all. I want the game to follow around the camera, or the camera to follow around the character. And the first challenge that I want to figure out is how I should define something like a game world that extends outside the space that the camera can see. And, maybe we're going to have like sources of zombies positioned a couple places. There's going to be some buildings. They're going to have hard-coded XY coordinates within the game world. And just what is it like in Flame to define that setup? And then how do I feed that information into the camera? That's what I want to figure out first. And so to do that, of course, we'll need to close this tab because we don't need it anymore and review how the camera works. And I'm going to show the wrong desktop because this is an obsession of OBS, is to shuffle what's what all the time. Okay, I'm going to show the correct desktop now. And with me out of the way, we can read some documentation about how cameras work and learn this new system. I didn't know the old system either, so that, I'm just learning a system for the first time. Is the Pong game on GitHub? Yeah, I need to make it more GitHub Greg LeBen's multi-Pong. I don't think I've made this public yet. Yeah, it's still private. I'll probably do a little more cleanup and then share this with people who don't like themselves. All right, the camera component. This document describes a new camera API. The more traditional approach, which will be deprecated for handling camera, is described in the other doc, which we don't like. All right, so camera as a component is an alternative way of structuring a game. I've heard that this new camera component basically is like a rewrite of old games. I heard this from Eric as he looked at the at Doodle Dash. So it's a new way of structuring a game, an approach that allows more flexibility in placing the camera or even having more than one camera simultaneously. Great. We can make Portal with this. So, in order to understand how this approach works, imagine that your game world is an entity that exists somewhere independently from your application. Great. This is exactly what I want. Imagine that your game is merely a window through which you look into that world. Great. That is also exactly what I want. And I can close that window at any moment and the game world will still be there. Or, on the contrary, you can open multiple windows and play Portal. Wonderful. I love it. With this mindset, we can now understand how camera as a component works. Okay, first, there is the world class. It contains all the components that are inside your game world. So this must be where they all get the XYZ coordinates. And then the world component can be mounted anywhere, for example, the root of your game class. All right, we are obviously going to oh, here's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to this, but the Yokum is it potentially still here and may know what the most complicated game made in Flame is. Wait, what? Hi, Craig. Have you heard anything about the Rive game kit for Flutter? Does that exist, or are you wondering if it exists? Rive game kit Flutter? Why we chose Flutter for the Rive game kit? Oh, yeah. I did see this, and then boy, did I forget about it. Oh, yeah, this is incredible. Like the performance of this is nutty. I mean, it's running on a Mac, so it probably has unlimited resources with which to achieve this. 120 FPS, though, that's pretty darn good. Yeah, good, Harder, good call out there. All right, so we have this world class. It can be mounted anywhere. For example, the root of your game class. Yeah, that's definitely what we're going to do. Then there's a camera component class that looks at the world. This is a nice abstraction. The camera component has a viewport and a viewfinder inside, allowing both the flexibility of rendering the world at any place on the screen and also controlling the viewing location and angle. Ugh, love it. I was talking with Joachim yesterday, and we'll have to be very clear on the difference between the viewport and the viewfinder. I was saying one thing and he's like, nope, that's the viewfinder. And yeah, easy to get these mixed up, I think. Also, because they both start with V and I have a really simple brain. All right, world. So this is the first thing. This holds all the stuff. Yes, and it's the component that should be used to host all of the components that comprise your game world. The main property of the world class is that it does not render through traditional means. Instead, create one or more camera components to look at the world. All right. The game can have multiple world instances that can be rendered either at the same time or at different times. For example, if you have two worlds, A and B, and a single camera, then switching that camera's target from A to B will instantaneously switch the view to world B without having to unmount A and then mount B. Okay, I don't think I'm likely to use this functionality, but kind of neat. Yeah, this creates some really interesting possibilities of juggling games that kind of juggle between different arenas. Okay, just like with most components, children can be added to the world by using the children arguments in its constructor or by using add or add all methods. Great. So this is just like, this basically says, this behaves like other Flame things, as you would expect. Okay, the camera component. This is a component through which a world is rendered. Oh, that's a really whimsical sentence. It requires a reference to a world instance during construction. However, later, the target world can be replaced with another one. Multiple cameras can observe the same world at the same time. Well, it's like Earth. All the photographers walking around taking pictures of birds. A camera component has two other components inside, a viewport and a viewfinder. So these are the two things that I need to make sure I have very clearly delineated in my head. Unlike the world object, the camera owns the viewport and the viewfinder. Okay, unlike the world object, the camera owns the viewport and the viewfinder, which means those components are children of the camera. There's also a static property, camera component dot current camera, which is not null, only during the rendering stage. And it returns the camera object that currently performs rendering. That's interesting. I don't know what it means to be outside the rendering stage in terms of Flame. I don't know if that's like before the first frame or between frames. I have no idea. And it returns anyway, this current camera, it returns the camera object that currently performs rendering. This is needed only for certain advanced use cases where the rendering of a component depends on the camera settings. For example, some components may decide to skip rendering themselves and their children if they're outside the camera's viewport. It feels like all components would want to skip rendering themselves if they were outside the camera's viewport. So I don't totally understand this one, but that's interesting. Okay, we do have an answer from Yoakum here. Complicated is relative. That's sure true. We have Tome Toad, which is on my phone. That's a fun game. There's Omnichess, which is a chess game with Flame, and Wolfenrain is building an MMO with Flame. Oh my gosh. What? Oh, should I call you Wolfen all the time? I'm sorry. Okay, we're getting more answers from Wolfenrain. Whenever you are not within a render call, so between frames, like in the update cycle, you don't need to access the current camera. Got it. Okay. So basically, you would just only want to access the camera in call paths originating from that update method. That makes sense. Go to Flutter and Friends in Stockholm for my talk about Flutter on the server. All right. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to make it to Stockholm, but that's just because the world is too big. I want to be there. I will definitely watch that talk and probably every other talk at that conference. Okay. So camera component with fixed resolution lets you pretend that the user's device has a fixed resolution of your choice. Oh, this seems extremely handy. This is probably very useful for normalizing game coordinates. This will create a camera with a viewport centered in the middle of the screen, taking as much space as possible while maintaining the aspect ratio you indicate, and showing a game world region of size 800 by 600. Very interesting. A fixed resolution is very simple to work with, but it will underutilize the user's available screen space unless their device happens to have the exact same pixel ratio as your chosen dimensions. This is some pretty darn good documentation. All right, viewport. The viewport is a window through which the world is seen. That window has a certain size, shape, and position on the screen. Okay, so let me reread this so it gets into my thick head. The viewport is a window through which the world is seen. The window has a certain size, shape, and position on the screen. There are multiple kinds of viewports available, and you can always implement your own. Oh, shucks, I'll probably never do this. All right, so the viewport is a component, which means you can add other components to it. These children components will be affected by the viewport's position, but not by its clip mask. No idea what that means. Thus, if a viewport is a window into the game world, then its children are the things that you put on top of that window. So far, I'm honestly, this was the point yesterday when I was talking to Wolfen and I said something about a viewport and he was like, no, that's the viewfinder. And I, once again, am kind of re-concluding my old thing. So I don't really have these totally straight in my head yet. Hopefully once we start adding them to code and hitting re-render, we'll see what's up. Adding elements to the viewport is a convenient way to implement HUD components. This sentence kind of revolutionizes my understanding of the previous two paragraphs. And I remember it did the same thing when I was skimming this last night. The following viewports are available: max, fixed aspect ratio, and circular. Interesting. I feel like, yeah, this max, the default one, that's the winner. But fixed size, Yeah, we'll have to with fixed resolution. Oh no, that was camera. That's not that's not a viewport at all. All right, I think, yeah, we're just gonna use this one and move on with our lives. Okay, viewfinder. This part of the camera is responsible for knowing which location in the underlying game world we are currently looking at. So this thing knows about coordinates. The viewfinder also controls the zoom level and rotation. Yeah, so now it makes sense that this is, anyway, whatever. The anchor property of the viewfinder allows you to designate the point inside the viewport, which point inside the viewport serves as a logical center of the camera. Yeah, so this is the same as how the anchor works for other components. For example, in side-scrolling action games, it's common to have the camera focused on the main character who is displayed not in the center of the screen, but closer to the lower left corner. Yeah, I remember those games. Played them a lot when I was a kid. The original Nintendo. This off-center position would be the logical center of the camera. Oh, that's interesting. So I think this means that, again, you're going to be able to describe things as like vector twos from this, yeah, the logical center. So things will have vector two positions from this, just kind of removing one layer of normalization of components, of coordinates. Okay, components added to the viewfinder as children will be rendered as if they were part of the world, but on top. Oh, so they're like HUD stuff, except it said HUD things here. I wonder when I would do that. It's more useful to add behavioral components to the viewfinder, for example, effects or other controllers. It is more useful to add behavioral components to the viewfinder. Interesting. What does it mean by effects? Modify its appearance or property. Making collectible power-up items. You want to despawn it, obviously. Okay, that's its whole own thing. Actually, things that spawn and despawn effects. I'm gonna have zombies spawning and despawning after they get killed. So interesting. I may one day read this page slowly as well. Okay, camera controls. There are several ways to modify the camera settings at runtime. One, we can do it manually. You can always override camera component.update method. Okay. Or the same method in the viewfinder or viewport, and within it, change the viewfinder's position or zoom as you see fit. This approach may be viable for some circumstances, but in general is not recommended. Great, I won't use it. 2, apply effects and or behaviors to the camera's viewfinder or viewport. The effects and behaviors are special kinds of components whose purpose it is to modify over time some property of a component that they attach to. I see. This is a nice sentence and kind of primes what I would expect to get out of the effects page. Okay. And then 3, use a special camera function such as follow, move by, or move to. Under the hood, it does the same thing as effects and behaviors in 2. All right. So follow or something seems like what I would want. Camera has several methods for controlling its behavior. Will force the camera to follow the provided target. Yeah. So now I'm not sure. Would I want like camera.follow or view? Oh, this was also in camera, so that's the same. Stop, move by, move to. We just saw those a little bit. Set bounds where the camera's allowed to go. Oh, that seems important. Visible world rect. The camera exposes a property called visible world rect, which is a rect that describes the world's region which is currently visible through the camera. This is just incredible. This region can be used in order to avoid rendering components are out of view or updating objects that are far away from the player less frequently. Yeah, love it. Really, really good. Okay, the visible world rect is a cached property and it updates automatically whenever the camera moves or the viewport changes size. Just brilliant. Okay, we're getting close to the bottom. Now we're past, actually, I didn't even skim this much last night. Check if a component is visible. Okay, so the camera component has a method called canSee, which can be used to check if a component is visible from the camera's point of view, right? Because all the objects are in the world. They're not on the game, they're not on the camera, they're in that world thing. And so the camera has some separation. This is useful, for example, to cull components that are not in view. Yeah, so canSee component, remove from parent. Interesting. So But wouldn't the component's parent be the world? It's like not out of the game world just because the camera can't see it. Unless it's appropriate for certain components to do that. All right, one last part, then I'll catch up in chat. Comparison to the traditional camera. Compared to a normal camera, the camera component has several advantages. All right, well, I never used the old camera, so anyway, I'll still read these. Multiple cameras can be used. There's more flexibility choosing the placement. Switching the camera can happen instantaneously. Can support rotation of the world view. That seems pretty great. Effects can be applied to the viewport or viewfinder. Still don't fully understand how I would use that, but okay. And then there's more flexible controllers. Wonderful. Okay. I've been sitting here the whole time. Did you know that? Just have cloaking technology. Let's see. Yeah, MMO seems ambitious. Yes, it does. Flutter on the server. Yeah, this is okay. So someone said, you mean Dart on the server, right? And Wolfen says, no, I mean Flutter. And I don't know what that means either, but I'm excited to find out. Then people want Wolfen to spoil his talk. He's probably not going to do that. Even though I think game dev is complicated, I really like how Craig makes this easier. Oh, shucks. Well, starting from 0. So if you're with me at 0, then this might be the series for you. Wolfen says, camera.follow, use the viewfinder internally. Okay. And then the follow is an effect on the viewfinder, but automatically done for you. Got it. All right, let's write a little code. I'm going to move things into files probably at the end of the episode. Maybe not. I don't know, at some point. Fine, I guess I'll just do it now. I don't know how people structure their, I don't know how people structure Flame projects. I'm going to add a components folder. And in here, I'm going to have a components barrel file. And this is going to export the world.dart, which doesn't exist yet. So I'll make world.dart. And then I need to put the game somewhere. And I don't know if that really warrants its own folder or not. So for now, we'll just have zombiesgame.dart. And now in main.dart, we're going to import zombiesgame.dart, and we're going to import components. Nope. I can't type. All right. And I guess you would go there. And I'm not using zombie assets anymore, but we will. Actually, that's probably going to be used in the components places, won't it? Not likely here. Okay, so the zombie game is going to go to zombie game. And I'm feeling a little pedantic because I have a plurality disagreement. And then we're going to grab flame game and move that to here. And, oh, that got rid of game widget. So we're going to bring it right back. Okay, looking good. Now we need a world. In a world. Okay, there was a link to the world. This was a link. It's not a link. Stinky. This component would be used to host all other components that comprise your game world. Is it just like a vanilla component, or is there a world component? The main property of the world class is that it does not run. Is it just a component? You can have multiple world instances. Oh, man. I thought... Interesting. Is there a world? I guess not. Do we just say like class world extends component, and then we have to bring this in from Flame? And then classes can only extend other classes. Okay, so there must be some like other base class. Whoa, look at that. It's a world. Extends component and it implements blah, blah, blah. Let's read this. A root component for all game world elements. The primary feature of this component is that it disables regular rendering and allows itself to be rendered through a camera component only. The updates proceed through the world tree normally. The priority of the world is default to the maximum 32-bit negative integer to ensure it will always be earlier in the component tree than a camera component. Okay, I have not really dug into Flame's priority system, so sure. All right, so we are not extending a component, we are extending a world. And it doesn't have a ton of stuff in it. I guess it just render tree. So this was the no op, and then it renders from camera. Oh, but then it calls render tree. All right, whatever. I don't know how this works, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just know that this would be Zombie World, which I think is a movie, and this extends world. And yeah, now we can add some components to this world. So let's start with, what was the constructor situation for this? Yeah, super dot children. Wonderful. So I'll also have super dot children. Okay. Class Earth extends world. Nice. That's what I should have done. We have a saying, everything is a widget in Flutter and Flame. Everything is a component. Yes, the world is a component. Oh, there is a world component. Great. Okay, so it's Zombie World. And now I'm going to go back to Zombie Game, and you need a world, right? So the world will be a world. No, it's Zombie World. And then we have to import this from components right here. And of course, then we need to say final. In theory, you can switch them around, but I'm not intending to do that, so that's fine. I'll say world. Well, the word world is this how you spell world? You know that thing where words just melt into nonsense? It's happened. Wow. These letters are just gibberish to my brain now. Okay, so we have a world. It doesn't have anything in it. That's okay. One thing, Wolfen, do you recommend, like, one thing that I could do here is say children and just define children, and I could define a really long list of components with hard-coded XYZ values, and of course that's terrible. I'm curious to learn how you think about, maybe having like an initialization file somewhere else that defines the game world in really, really simple plain text, and then you have like an intake process that reads it and converts things into the world. Like, that's what I've done with very, very, very simple games in the past, and intend to do here probably, but for now I just want to get stuff rendering. Add the children in onload. Wolfenrain says, I would add the children on load because you might want to do some async loading, like images loading for sprites. Okay. And I would do this for onload of the world, I guess. I presume. So override future void onload, right? Like this. And then onload. Oh yeah, sure. So we'll call it async. All right, so in here, we're going to add some components, and I'm going to try to add a piece of land. No, yeah, we're going to add two things, a character that's the main character and some land. And then I want to walk around and see the land move. And I am unlikely to achieve this in this episode, but that's the goal. So I need a land class. I'll call this land.dart, and this will be class land extends component, position component. Sure. And maybe it'll be like abstract, and then I'll have class. Now let's look at those assets that I have here. So in the town, there's different land. We've got plain land, other land, and flower land. But I'm just going to do plain land for now. We'll call it grassland. But maybe this one will be weeds land. You know, these could kind of both be grassland. It's tricky naming things. Empty land, that's what it is. Green land. So good at this. Extends land. Wonderful. Now we need this to actually do stuff. So you need some positions. Super dot position, we know we're going to need. And then ultimately we need to set our asset. So how do we add something? How do we add an image to a component? Does it need to have an image component child? Or can a component just have, how does a component know how to render itself? Done this before and I'm forgetting. Scale, distance. Wait, am I in position component specifically? I am. So in regular component, yeah, there's nothing really here. It just has children. I think I need to add like a sprite component to this. Or I want a thing to have a sprite and I want it to have a position. I think I just add a sprite component to it. I think that's what I do. I don't know if this structure is going to ultimately make a ton of sense here. Maybe we say this dot sprite, and this would be a sprite component, sprite, and it's final. And then this becomes required. What's the issue here? Oh, lowercase. I mean the underscore. Okay, so now here, we say super dot position, and sprite is going to become, we have to do the loading of the assets. We can also just extend from sprite component if I want. Do those have positions as well? So sprite component, extends from position component. Love it. Okay, sprite component it is. So now we're going to rethink all of this gibberish. How do sprite components work? Where's your constructor? They get a nullable sprite and a paint. Interesting. Okay. All right. Can I hard code the sprite? I feel like, yeah, this is like the onloading things that we were talking about, or that Wolfen was cluing us into. I'm going to go back here and look at how we load sprites, rendering images, sprites, and animations. I want to make sure I'm not overlooking like a really great utility for this. All right, start off, we have to do the normal things in the pubspec.yaml file. Oh yeah, I wonder if I'm even going to use assets.gen or if that's going to conflict with how Flame thinks about these sprites. Images can be in any format supported by Flutter. All right, loading images. Flame bundles a utility class called images. This seems like it might be real similar to the other thing that allows you to easily load and cache images from the asset directory into memory. Flutter has a handful of types related to images, and converting everything properly from a local asset to an image that can be drawn on canvas is a bit convoluted. This class allows you to obtain an image that can be drawn on a canvas using a draw image rect method. Cool. It automatically caches any image loaded by file name, so you can safely call it many times. Love that. The methods for loading and clearing the cache are okay. So does load all, does it like recurse on its own? They return futures for loading the images. These futures must be awaited before the images can be used in any way. If you don't want to await these futures already, you can initiate multiple load operations and then wait for all of them at once using images.ready. Okay, so this feels like a thing that I should do. I don't know where I should do it. I'm not going to lie. I don't know where I should do it. I mean, can I literally, what about if I just did it up here? Images dot, and I have to import this from Flame Cache. Should I do this in my main method? Dot load. I mean, I think in general, like the really mature way to do this would be you navigate to your splash screen and then you start loading all the stuff there. And then that sends a signal to your business logic, which kind of navigates you to the actual game screen or the menu screen where you can load into a game or something like that. But anyway, we're not there yet. Okay, we're loading cache. Why? What was it called? Yeah, images. And the methods are like load all. Let's look at this method. Loads all images with the specified file names into the cache. And then we await this. Just wonderful. Async future. So load all. Oh, this will be kind of nice because we can still use. What's the problem with you? What's your issue here? Load all can't be accessed using static. Oh, it's an instance method? Yeah, that's what Wolfen is telling me right now. You can create an instance of images so you can pass it to your Flame game. That's wonderful. Okay, this is not to do. Make this more smarter. So we're going to have and then here we will await the images cache, calling load all. Nice. And now we can use those assets and load the things. So let's load an adventurer and then the land. Assets, town, all sets, assets, town, and some land. Wonderful. And these are strings, right? Yeah, these are strings. Cool. Okay. Now what am I doing? Oh yeah, so now, so we've done this. Oh, look, it was just right below here. Image loader. So we load the things. Flame.images. Oh, the singleton. Yeah, okay. This is kind of the pattern that I was going for and was assuming. All right, so this gives us, so now we call load on a single one and we get an image that we put in a sprite. That's how that works. Hey, Simon. Can't stay for long now. We're doing a Flutter Dev Camp 2023 State Management Special. Kickoff at 6 p.m. BST. A little reminder for those that are watching and signed up. Well, nobody skip that. Thanks, Simon, for throwing that, for hosting that Dev Camp and helping everyone learn state management. And good to see you. All right, so inside, yeah. So I guess, so again, async, this can't go in a constructor for anything. Where do we think the right place to put this is? I guess in the onload method of the, on the onload method of that component. Then it just has to access this image cache. Of course it can because it's global, but that'll just make the task of eventually making it more smarter or kind of annoying. I think I'm going to use the singleton. And this is just going to become flame.images. Okay, we need to import something else here. Import flame. Now we don't have to make that smarter. And now I'll feel less guilty using this global variable. Okay, so back in land, now I think here what we'll say is the land gets a position, super.position, and then it can pass. What is the sprite component takes a sprite and that takes an image. So here we'll also say super.sprite, and you will get a sprite value of, again, this can't be asynchronous. So I think even though it's already loaded, I have to pass this in. So this must take a sprite. So this is going to be sprite. No, I guess it'll just be super.sprite. There's no way around it. This also means that I don't yet actually need these multiple classes, because I was hoping I could hard code the classes in them. Okay. Greenland class might not last long. Now, somewhere I need to pass in this land, and it's, oh yeah. For now, I guess we'll do it in the world. So here we'll add a piece of land, and I'm going to need to like store all the land. Final list of land. And you need to know about components. Oh, my component barrel file. You need to export land. Okay, so now you know about land. So here we're going to say flame.images, and I have to import the flame doodad. And then we're going to load assets, and this is going to come from our asset generation. Now, can you help me? There we go. So assets.load assets town. There we go. That's the one that we loaded. And what's the issue here? Await final image is what this gives us. Okay, so something was just being a little slow. So now we're going to add a land tile, and the position, I don't know what to give this here. For now, it's just going to be 0, 0. And the land also needs a sprite, which takes this image. And I have red just everywhere. Abstract classes, oh, right, Greenland. Okay. The method Greenland, but it doesn't have an N. Why is my computer being so slow? Like I typed the N. And what's the deal with sprite? Image is positional. Look at how slow my computer is being. This is crazy. What is happening? Oh, it's not being slow anymore. It was a second ago. All right. So we're adding some land, and it has an image, and we have a world. In a world. So now our game has a world, and it needs a camera component. So we add the camera component to what? This component should be used to host all the things, the main property of the world classes, and blah, blah, blah. It has, instead, create one or more camera components to look at the world. So the camera component requires a reference to a world instance during construction. Great. So here, maybe we say here, final camera component camera. It's not really going to be able to be final. Fine. Late final, or is it final late? Okay. And so the camera here, what's your problem? Oh, fine, camera component. Okay, component. So I was accidentally trying to shadow a variable there. All right, so the camera component is going to be a camera component, and it's going to get the world. And do I have to add a viewfinder in a viewport, or do they just already exist? Viewport is a window through which the world is seen. The window has a certain blah, blah, blah. We read all these things. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have to do anything or if it's just going to work. Let's find out. Let's run it. in my zombie game. I can close this images file. All right, nothing is rendering. So we need some kind of viewport or something. Okay, let's look at camera component. This takes a viewport or viewfinder, but nullable. So otherwise, it thinks it can have some default components. That's interesting. Camera component is a component through which the world is observed. Two parts. It consists of a viewport and a viewfinder. It also references a world component, which is not mounted to the camera, but the camera still knows about it. The world must be mounted somewhere else in the game tree. I have not mounted the world. So future void on load, async, override. We will now add the world. That's probably going to help. We have an error. Okay. Services binding has not yet been initialized. Is that because I hot reloaded? Oh no, it's because I'm loading images and I didn't call that, I guess. Interesting. Let's run that again. Yeah, so default they exist, but we can provide our own, which I definitely don't want to do to start. I wasn't adding the world. I'm adding it now, but I'm still missing something. So back to that doc string that we were reading. All right, so the world must still be mounted somewhere else in the game tree. We just did that. The camera is a regular component that can be placed anywhere in the game tree. I probably have to mount the camera component. Refresh. Still nothing, but an error. Okay, how do you work? What's happening? Unable to load the asset. Really? That felt fake. Oh, it was trying to do something though. I wonder if it was trying to render. Nope. Okay, back to the doc string. Most games will have at least one main camera for displaying the main game world. However, additional cameras may also be used for some special effects. These extra cameras can be placed everywhere. Yeah, we were reading about that. Since camera component is a component, it is possible to attach other components to it. In particular, adding components directly to the camera is equivalent to adding them to the camera's parent, which for us is just the game world. Components added to the viewport will still be affected by the viewport's position, but not by its clip mask. Second time we've read this sentence. Second time I've not known what it's meant. Such components will be rendered on top of the viewport. Oh, because of HUD things. I see. I think I see. So yeah, they were talking about like a circular camera you could have, and that's its clip mask. And then you could put HUD things like around it outside the circle. But it would still move with it. That's what it means. Components added to the viewfinder will be rendered as if they were part of the world. Right, I think we saw that. That is, they will be affected by both the viewport and the viewfinder. Okay, I'm not sure why nothing's rendering. Let me close this because I keep thinking it's the game. Let me close this because I don't want it anymore. Yeah, nothing. Let's review all the things from the top. So I ensure stuff's initialized. We load these images. And then we run the game. Doesn't do much. Goes into, honestly, this right now could just go here. Because we're not doing anything with any of this other nonsense. We have a zombie game, and that zombie game doesn't need, I'm not missing any optional parameters. We make a world, we make a component, and we add the world to the component. Then we mount both of those, which I thought would work. Anyway, in our world, in the zombie world, we add, oh yeah, this isn't the problem, but I do want to say this because it's at some point we're going to like keep track of all this land. And then here we'll say land.last or something. Is last probably a null getter? Oh no, it's not. Wow, there's my analysis server is just being so slow right now. Or is there actually a problem? No, yeah, the getter las. Computer, wake up. This is pretty annoying actually. The T is there. Wow, I've never seen this before. All these years of Flutter, I've never seen, I don't know if it's my computer or if the analysis server is struggling. I did have to restart my computer right before this because of Chrome shenanigans. So I add the land to the game world, and the game world, or sorry, to the world. Add land to the world. The world is added to the game. The camera is added to the game, and the camera knows about the world. Am I missing something? I'm going to try to find an example, I think. I don't know tutorials. Do you have a camera tutorial? Bear flame game. No. Klondike like solitaire. That may not. Oh, side scrolling. Simple side scrolling. I don't know if this is going to use the new camera system. Let's find out. Ember Quest tutorial. Oh, okay. I'm just going to skip through this until we get to camera things. Planning stuff. Whoa, this is involved. This is what I should be doing. Should be making this demo. Goodness. Oh yeah, they make the game here. Where do I make the game? I think I make the game in the widget tree. That's a less good place. Yeah. Yeah, that's not as good, is it? I just feel very compelled to make this change. So then you'll take a game, and then my app and your constructor, you'll say required this.game, zombie game, final, and now we can pass the game in here. Look at this. We're already learning from the tutorial. Planning. Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. I just want to know how the assets, that's good, looking good. Looking good. All right, start coding. The plan. I'm just skipping. This looks really wonderful, and I really should read this. Oh, scaffolding. Now that we have our game file, let's prepare main.dart to receive our newly created Flame game. So here, run app, it's right. Yeah, you don't even really need the material app around it. We can just use the game widget. Oh, dot controlled. Interesting. I don't really know what much about game controllers. Okay, here we go. Camera component. So Flame Game has a world and it has a camera component. Well, this is pretty similar to what we typed, I think. So in onload, the camera component. Oh, this is how they're doing it. Nice. Yeah, that seems better. Well, I don't know where this variable is coming from. Seems out of scope in this snippet. Anyway, camera component just gets the world. Oh, add all camera component and world. Yeah, we did that. The order doesn't matter, right? Oh no, in the game, we added the world first, then the camera component. There was something about the priority. I think we read that. I think that doesn't matter. It's going to sort it out on its own. It didn't do this. I don't know if this matters. Refresh. I have to rebuild, I think, because I restructured a lot of things in the main.dart file. No, the main.dart file has an error. Is it a real error? Yeah, you can't be const. Because the game made const. And this is a positional argument. Okay, now we can build. My terminal has like a weird sizing issue at the top line there. Okay. No, nothing. What am I doing? What am I doing here? All right, let's see how they add stuff to the world. Maybe we can learn more because this world is still empty, right? It's not even clear if I'm going to need the zombie world class. Maybe world just does enough. Okay, Ember time. Keep your game files organized can always be a challenge. Yeah, I agree. I like to keep things locally or logically organized by how they'll be involved in my game. So for Ember, let's create the following folders: actors, lib/actors, and in that folder we'll create ember.dart. And in that file, following code. Okay, so this is a sprite animation component. Looks good, gets a position, sets its size and its own anchor. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do that. And then, oh, you know what? I think that image is going to be incredibly small. I am going to do this on the land. I think this is important. All right, we'll just, I wonder if the things are like really tiny and it was there the whole time. I don't think so though. All right, so then animation, we don't need this because we're not yet using an animation component. Yeah, no, this is pitch black everywhere. All right, so, but this is a component here. So let's see how this Ember player gets added to the world. Uses has game ref, which we'll probably need later as well. Game images from cache ember.ping. Game images. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I think I do want to follow that pattern as well. So our game is going to have an images thing. That's how this is going to work. So this is going to be final game. No, final images. And then this comes from Flame. And here, we'll get rid of this from here and bring it down to this. And now you're just images. And we import assets. And we can probably get rid of some more things up here. Great. Our main file is getting smaller and smaller. Zombie game looks good there. Looks good. Okay, so now our camera component, I can close you, world, flame images not load. Yeah, so here we want like has game. I think for our world, we'll need to say with has game ref, zombie game. I have to probably import that. And then this can be game.load. Oh, game.images.load. Okay, that seems better. Following the guide from the images. Oh yeah, we have to. Okay. Why do you remember images overrides in inherit? Oh, that was an instance thing on game. So we can just use images. We don't need to bring that in. We can get rid of cache. Oh, this flame game class really packs a punch, doesn't it? That explains why I thought that variable was out of scope, because this is just an instance variable on flame game right up here. All right, following better patterns. Ember player sends the thing. That's good. Now we still haven't made one of these. That's where things are going to really get interesting. Earlier, we loaded all the files into the cache so that now we can just use the from cache. Oh, and that's probably not where we're going to return a future. We're going to do that as well. From cache. We don't need to await. Wonderful. You'll love to see this quality of documentation. The Ember Player class extending sprite animation component, which allows us to define animations as well as position it accordingly in our game world. When we construct this class, the default size is 64 by 64 square, as defined by the size of Ember in our game world. Oh, whatever. Anyway, that's what that's supposed to be. You may notice that the animation and texture size is defined as vector 2 16 by 16. This is because the individual frame of our ping, ember.ping, is 16 by 16, and there are 4 frames in total. Oh, interesting. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm not worrying about a fancy sprite yet. Okay, so let's look at this. So Ember, we just make one of these variables and give it a position. I mean, maybe my 0, 0 is not good. Maybe this isn't putting it anywhere. This can be not all 50, of course. All right. I think I'm doing it at this point because in my world, I add the land and the world, we just call add on world. Check the path to the asset. So I'm using a builder for that. I'm using assets gen. So that should be good. Oh, hey, Majid. Oh, I've got an error. That's pretty common for me. How do I get rid of that? Unable to load asset. Why? Asset does not exist or has empty assets, images. How does this new assets folder come into play? Whoa. Yeah, these are assets, characters. There's like a prefixed assets images going on here. Why is that happening? They aren't. They're just in assets. Is that a default of the asset gen library? Or no, it's probably not being prefixed from that. Where is it being prefixed? Is it coming from the component? Land, sprite component, sprite. So you get an image. Oh, so it's done by here. The image class, you get a string, I think. This underscore image. Oh yeah, no, this is quite convoluted, just like the documentation said. Okay, I'm gonna close some of that nonsense. Position component, I'm closing you. Flame is prefixing it. Aha. Okay. Why is it doing that? So this does, I was worried that my generation and that my generation was going to conflict a little bit with Flame. But I wonder if we can override the nature of that prefix. Wonder if it's like on the images. There it is. Prefix. So we will need our own images class. That's probably cheap enough to be fine. Images equals images. Prefix is going to be nothing. Now we'll bring the cache back in. Final. Oh, we're just overriding this images thing. This is fine. I don't need to define it. That was the issue before. Now I think it'll work. I don't know if anything's going to render, but that error should go away. Yeah. this dot image prefix. Oh, I didn't need to overwrite it. Okay, I'll do that instead. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Images dot prefix equals nothing. We're gonna do that instead. Now, I wasn't even getting to the, I still don't know what fixed it because I had multiple errors there. I had that prefix error, but something else I changed allowed Flame to get far enough to even try to load the asset and then encounter the error from the prefix. And I don't know what I changed that fixed that. Like, was this just off screen and thus I didn't see it and it didn't try to load it? I don't think that's it. I don't think that was it. I didn't really change anything interesting here. Oh, it's okay. That's nice. That's a good position. That's where you would expect that to be. For vectoral 0. Very good. Now, what did I change? What was the thing that I did? I don't think I'm not sure what it was. I'm really not sure. I don't know why it wasn't working before, but is now. Because I had all of this stuff in place when it wasn't working, right? You just need some mentorship guidance on Flame. Well, that's literally what you're doing. I mean, I did change a couple. This gave me some ideas of like where to put images and where to put, man, I don't know. Maybe there was something funny going on. Building the world. This is what I need. For the world to be infinite, the best way to approach this is to create segments that can be reloaded over and over. Okay, sure. Following sketch to show what the segments could look like and how they might be repeated. Yeah, seems good. Each segment is a 10 by 10 grid, and each block is 64 by 64 pixels. Okay, so we have a little thicker line here. So this gets repeated over and over again. Or there's like different segments that get repeated over and over again. This means EmberQuest has a height of 640 and an infinite width. In this design, there must always be a ground block at the beginning and the end. Okay. Additionally, there must be at least 3 ground blocks that come before an enemy, including if the segment wraps into another segment. Okay. This is because the plan is to have the enemies traverse back and forth for 3 blocks. Now that we have the plan for the segments, let's create the segment manager class. All right. We're getting into the interesting stuff now. I don't think I'm going to go deep into this in this episode, but maybe next episode where I'm back on this. Because, of course, this game project will be regularly interrupted. We can now create a file called Segment Manager, which will be placed in a new folder with managers. Yeah, so but I am going to keep skimming this because this is really interesting. Segment, yeah, this seems pretty good. So here, this is kind of what I was talking about, defining, like, you could have something that reads some text file where each character stands for something at a given coordinate and then knows how to build your component tree based off what it intakes. And that allows you to just edit the text file, reload, and your game works. Your game looks different. You can also then visualize your game world in the text file. This stuff is really hard to visualize. Of course, this is how it eventually has to be for Flame to render it. But so then we get some, different segments here. This makes sense. So block gets a ground block. Yeah, this is just the mechanics of this. Makes sense. We have our 4 segments, and then the manager is going to kind of add them as we go. So initialize game. is in some class. I've lost track of that a little bit, but that's fine. Oh, initialize game. So this is on our game class, and this makes the initialize. This makes the segment manager, or just starts using it. Okay. I didn't quite read closely enough to follow this logic, but makes sense, I think. Platform block. We saw. All right. This seems pretty good. You're gonna have to spend time on this at some point in the future. I wanted to do camera things in this episode. Oh, I do have some. Let's see. To load images, you changed from the main to load from cache. I did change that. Yeah. So this was load and this was await. But shouldn't this also work? I think this would just schedule like a pointless micro task in the Dart VM, but it should then work. It'll just like take an extra 10 microseconds or something. Great thought, though. That did change. Then we've got another thought. We changed the load. We changed the load to local. We inverted the components, changed the size. So you're saying I just changed all kinds of stuff. Like, Greg, you changed a million things. Okay. That's really funny, but true. It's true. All right, back to the documentation. It's camera time. I want to move something around. I'm going to add a person. Components. Yeah, actors is a better name than components. Components is a really bad name for this folder. For now, this is going to be the player.dart. In class, it's again going to be a sprite. It's going to be the player. Extends the sprite component. You have to import components. Let's give this a this dot or no super dot coordinates position, and then we're gonna need to give this a sprite as well. And how we just say super dot sprite. Okay, now we go back to the game or the world, the game, and we're gonna add. Oh no, it's in the world. Wow, great. So the world will have the player. And in our barrel file in components, which really should be renamed to actors, we're going to add player, alphabetize it. So now you have a player. What's going on here? Yeah, you need components. We want the barrel file, my friend. Okay, so we have a player, but it's late. And now we say the player equals a player, and we need to give it the, so this will be Greenland image. Look at how long that squiggly is sticking around. What is this? What is this madness? And then this will be the player image. And now our position here. All right, so now this stuff's already going to get interesting. We're going to have to think about anchors and what kind of camera we want and all that stuff. But first, we'll do sprite, and this gets the player image. Ew, that's really ugly. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. Let's render. Anchoring change, another proposal. Could have been off screen. Could have been off screen. The implicit auto prefixing thing is kind of confusing. Well, it confused me. So, Hanji Wong, you and I are in the same boat. All right, we don't have our person yet. So we've added this player to the world. That's not it. This one's it. Restart. Still don't have a player. I don't know what. I'm gonna never restarted my computer twice in the same day before. Well, not never, but it's been a minute. But it's gonna have to happen today. All right, I want the player to show up. I did the anchor things. Yeah. Let's do these one at a time and see which one was the thing. Okay, you have some size now. Re-render. It doesn't like that. I gotta minimize these other things. Get out of here. Super size. Oh, I'm totally putting this in the wrong spot. That made no sense whatsoever. This was supposed to go on the player. Don't you love it when you type things, you're like, why doesn't it work? And then you look at it again a second layer and you've never written something so silly in your entire life. Same asset for the player. Yeah, you're right. Good eye. Good eye. Oh, wait, I just copied the wrong one again. All right. That'll help and could have taken a long time. Everybody clap your hands for Andy. This could have taken as long as we wanted. We could have filled 7 months not knowing what was going on there. Andy, oh, okay. Also Fadi. Change the asset for the player image. We've got more clapping to do. You two are the saviors of Rome. All right. So now I actually want. Now we can think about the actual positioning of things. So the character is going to be in the dead center of the camera position. So this is the first thing that we need to figure out. So there's going to be some game world size, right? And we're going to like tile all of the possible terrain with images. And up front, we need to know our game world size. And then we're going to position the character somewhere in it, I guess the center of the game world. And then we will add the character there and hopefully tell the camera to follow the character. So let's try that. So our game world, let's give this a kind of const max, or just I guess just size. I don't know. Vector2 size equals vector2 dot all. I don't know what makes sense to put here. 100. But these are going to be like, these are game units, right? We're going to have to translate from game units to like screen pixels. And we need a vec2 here. Oh, static. That is what I meant. So that's a question that we're going to have to answer. The viewport will follow the player. Yeah, that's what we want. Yes. By using the camera dot follow, and then we'll have to tell it that that this component is what's special, I think. What is going on here? Statty vector2. If I wasn't live streaming, I would absolutely restart my computer right now. This is crazy. Just crazy. All right. What were we talking about? In our game world, we need to translate. Yeah. So we need to have some kind of translation system between our game world coordinates and the position that we tell characters to be. So that kind of involves, that involves the screen size. We'll kind of need to know what percentage of the world the camera can currently see. And that involves the camera's zoom level as well. There saw something in the documentation about zoom. Let's read what that says. So camera component. Let's look for zoom here. All right. The viewport will be centered within the canvas, expanding as much as possible on all sides while maintaining their aspect ratio. The zoom level will be set in such a way that exactly width by height pixels are visible within the viewport. The viewfinder will be initially set up to show world coordinates 0, 0 at the center of the viewport. Nice. So we need to figure out how to tell it what new coordinates to use. But I guess that's by saying follow on the player, right? Follow on the player. So looking good here. I kind of like having the anchor be the center, by the way. This just works better for my brain. But that obviously we'd have to do that for everything. I already did. Nice. Yeah, this whole land thing, Greenland, it's not working out. Getting rid of the abstract class until we know we need it. Going back to the world, you're now just land. That's good. Okay. So the camera needs to follow our player. The camera component is here. The player is in the world. So do we say camera component dot follow world dot player? No, apparently. Player isn't defined on type world. Well, yeah, because this is a zombie world. So now it's defined. Okay. If I re-render now, stuff might be in a different position. Let's set the... Oh, what am I doing here? What am I doing? I want to update the position of the player, which is in the world. So that's here. I need to name this file zombie world. The player position, let's 20. I don't know. Let's just see what this does. Let's see if the player is in the center of the screen and the land is just above and to the left of it. Oh, they're both all shoved into the corner here. Because we set the anchor to center, we can see that they're like clipped off the side of the game. Yeah, not yet doing what we want. So back to the documentation. Viewport will be centered within the canvas. Is the viewport following the camera? What does that follow method do? That's what I want to read. Follow. So it makes the viewfinder follow the given target. The target here can be any read-only position provider. For example, a position component is the most common choice of target. Alternatively, you can use something else. This method adds a follow behavior to the viewfinder. If there is another follow behavior, so we need to set like the logical anchor of the camera as well. But I thought that defaulted to the center. Where's the camera's anchor? Viewpoint anchor. So what is this doing? Viewport anchor.x, anchor.y. It depends on what the center of that is. So we need to look at the viewport's default anchor. Top left. Would you look at that? Craziness. So do I say, because we set it to top left? I'm rendering stuff. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. Nice. Now I want to be able to move the player, and we'll see if the land stays still. So we need to add some controls, and I got to go fast here. Running out of time. What's the flame inputs? Inputs. Here we go. Keyboard input. Looking good. For now, I just want to attach it to the individual component, I guess. Receive components in the keyboard at the component level. That's what I want. To receive a keyboard handler with keyboard handler. And then the method that I override is if has keyboard, you must remove keyboard events from the game mixin. Okay. On key event. Love it. Override on key event. I don't know. Let's just grab the signature for this. Okay. Logical keyboard key. Services. That's what we're going to go with. All right. We have to actually return something. So we have our position. So we'll say if I guess I'll just start with WASD or arrows or something. So if the event dot logical key equals, actually, first we'll say if event dot is, oh no, it's if event dot is like key down. What's it called? How do we check if it's a key down again? This is another one of those things I just always forget. Raw key down event. So if it's but for us, it's if it's a raw key up event, then we're just going to return, do it return false or true. I don't remember. Component, it doesn't tell us. One of the, if we return the wrong one, then the system's going to make the beep noise and then we'll flip it. Okay, so, but anyway, we just guard statement here, event.logical key. So if this is going to be key dot, how do these work again? I can see, I just can't remember anything. Where's the like key? Maybe we'll get it in logical keyboard key. That's what we want. Oh, right. It was literally right here. So if this is key, oh, what am I doing here? I'm gonna have to stop moving on the key up. Otherwise you just move forever. This doesn't make any sense. This was really silly. So if this is key W, then we're gonna move up. That's all we're gonna be able to do. We're gonna move up and we're gonna stop moving up. So then we'll just set our moving, I guess. So we can have like, in our update method, we're going to need to move you know, yeah, we can have moving up and down or nothing, and left and right or nothing. So I think I'm going to say here, like, vector 2, does that make sense? Do I want to have a vector 2 for movement? I think having a vector 2 for movement is, of course, the best, because then, yeah, we can just add that to our position at all times. So this is going to start by being vector 2.0. And if we're pressing the W, so here, oh yeah, we can say here, so if it's a key down event, so now we're pressing keys. So these can go in here. So we pressed W. So then this would be, we're moving up. So movement equals vector 2, and our y value becomes -1, and our x value stays whatever it was. So movement.x and -1, right? Else, if the event is raw key up and it was a W, then we stop moving up. And so here, our movement, again, we're not changing x, but we get the 0 here. I wonder if people that make games, I know there's so many ways to improve this. Like, these keyboard commands can never be overridden. No one could change their keyboard shortcuts for the game. So there's lots of ways this could be better. I guess we'll add moving down as well. So we can move up, we can move down. And then I have to return something. Return, I don't know if it's true or false. It's like either propagate or handled. And those are different concepts. And so one of these implementations is correct. The other one is wrong. What's wrong with this? Is that not static? Is it a constructor? Okay. I don't know why that's not static. All right. So we have some movement. Now we need to actually honor this in the update method. So this would be future void, or maybe update is I don't know, maybe it's supposed to just be void. I don't know if we can have a future in there. All right, so first I always have to remember, is this milliseconds? I think it's seconds. I think if we say dt times 1000, that's the amount of milliseconds it is. I think. Because I think this is in seconds. No, it's a double. Yeah, I think it's in seconds. So this is our number of milliseconds. And now we can say position equals position plus movement. And now this is where we have to kind of normalize this by how much time has passed. So we kind of need like a speed factor as well. So then here we're going to say plus movement, and then this is going to be times our speed times, actually, let's just leave it at seconds and see what we get. See how fast they move. dt is a double value of a single frame, delta time. Yeah, 1 is 1 second. Perfect. Okay, I'm pressing W and I'm pressing S and nothing is happening. I'm going to print movement at the end here and just make sure that this is changing. And then Oh. We may also just be moving this like less than a pixel. I don't know what keyboard shortcut I just did that typed the pi symbol. Oh, Option P on Mac types pi. Nice. Okay. So we're getting this position keeps being printed, so that's not changing. Refresh. Whoops, I killed it. Oops, I'm clicking a bunch of things here. But I guess not, I've accidentally clicked. Can we use Unity and Flutter together? I think so. I'm not an expert on it though. I'm pressing WNS and I am not getting, I don't think I successfully hooked up my component to get, I don't think its handler is fully working. I have to read this more closely. Receive keyboard events at the game level. No, I want to receive them at the component level, which I did. So to receive the components, there is a mix-in. Keyboard handlers must only be added to games that I have this one. So our game, zombie game, needs to say that. Okay. I'm really excited to see what happens here. Oh, still nothing. Why? All right. If has keyboard handler components is used, you must. After applying keyboard handler, it's possible, so that goes on the actual component, which I did. It's possible to override an on-key event method. And then we got the signature. Keyboard listener component. You can also just use that, but this actually seems, this is probably a smarter way to do it. And then you extend this class and you have it be really, really smart about knowing. I think this is better. One day I'm probably going to use this, but our player is definitely added to the game. And we're, oh, I put return statements here. They are meaning my print statement won't run. You just, sometimes. All right, now we're getting movement. Okay. Come on, man. Come on, man. The DT is going to be coming in. It's really, really small. I wonder if we're just like zeroing out the delta. Oh, look at it. Yeah, we're just moving so slowly. All right, so the speed is going to be 10. Oh, we're coming up right on it. The thing is, the character. No, that's right. The land is moving. The camera is following the character. Let's go. I think this flame thing is going to catch on, folks. Let me just tell you what. All right. So next up is going to be an episode on thinking more coherently, more cohesively on game coordinates. Like in this world, I started to have this idea of, 100 by 100 world. Maybe that means 100 land tiles by 100 land tiles or something like that. And who knows if we'll even keep this number 100. But having some kind of system for ourselves for where things are, maybe actually we're just supposed to use, I got too many random files open here. Get out of here. Maybe, just these positions, maybe this game world position is actually sufficient. I'm not, I don't know. I'm going to talk to the Flame folks a bit during the week. And also next week, I don't know if I'm going to be working on this or have a guest. Maybe I'll have a guest and continue to work on this. But yeah, getting real kind of clear about the coordinates in the game. That's going to be the goal for the next episode that advances this project. All right. Well, we've bumped up against the full time here. I think a lot of us have to run. Thanks everybody for tuning in, whether today or using the YouTube time machine to go back in time, watch from the future. This has been another episode of Observable Flutter, and I'll see you all in the future. Bye.